Good evening and welcome to the WDSU News Hot Seat. I'm Travis Mackel. Tonight we're continuing our Commitment 2021 Hot Seat debates. Up right now, the clerk of criminal court, the longtime clerk, Arthur Morell, chose not to seek re-election. 3 people have qualified to run for this race. They are all here tonight. They are, in alphabetical order, Austin Baddon, Dr. Patricia Boyd Robertson, and Darren Lombard. We thank all of you all for being here. This is an important office for the criminal justice system. We're going to give each one of y'all 1 minute to make an opening statement. We do go alphabetically for our viewers who watch these and for you all who participated. So Austin Baddon, you have 1 minute to make an opening statement.
Thanks, Travis, and thank you to Channel 6 for having me on today. I'm Austin Baddon. I'm number 8 on the ballot. I'm offering myself to be the clerk of criminal district court and chief elections officer in New Orleans. Happily married to my wife of 26 years. We worship at St. Peter Claver and Maria Goretti Church. We have one son who is 10 years old, being educated in the public schools. I have a strong platform where I want to help people to get expungements, also have access to their files, modernize the court computer system, and also work with our elections safer and more accessible to the people of New Orleans. I have a strong track record and a strong legacy of service in New Orleans, and I would like to continue that service as your clerk of criminal court, lead by example, and work with the people of New Orleans to offer myself and show them what that office has to offer as far as obtaining expungements and for people who are trying to get new trials to be able to have access to their file.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Baddon. Dr. Patricia Boyd Robertson, you also have 60 seconds to make an opening statement.
Thanks, Travis, and hello, New Orleans citizens. I am Dr. Patricia Boyd Robertson, number 9 on your ballot. The clerk of court's office has been dysfunctional for far too long, and it is currently still using an antiquated record management system. That has to change. I will use my experience in education to move this office forward and provide excellent services that our community well deserves. As the former accounting supervisor for the clerk's office and my degree in accounting, I understand the budget issues that this office experiences. That's why I furthered my education, went back and got a PhD in public policy because I want to make a difference in this office. I will offer the following services. I will implement a 21st century technology system. I will bring cost effectiveness and efficiency to this limited budgeted office. I will provide cross-training to all the employees in this office so everyone has knowledge of all the services that we provide. I will also make the elections process smoother and more accessible. I am Dr. Patricia Boyd Robertson, number 9 on your ballot, and I need your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And Darren Lombard, you're going to wrap us up with opening statements here. You have 60 seconds as well.
Good evening. Thank you, Travis, for having us on. My name is Darren Lombard. I'm number 10 on your ballot. I am a father, a husband. I'm a father of 5, grandfathers of 3. I currently hold position at Second City Court, where I've been there for 8 years. The other thing I've done is been the clerk at deputy clerk at criminal district court for 6 years, where I supervised and coordinated elections for 6 to 7 years. Also, I'm currently the vice chair on the Board of Election Supervisors, where I'm also the Governor John Bell Edwards appointee. And I plan on doing everything that needs to be done that hasn't been done yet at the Clerk of Criminal District Court. It has not been a total debacle. Mr. Morell has done a good job, but I've seen some of the things that need to be changed, and I will do that.
All right, we're going to start this question with you. We're going to get to the election stuff in a second, but let's start. All 3 of y'all mentioned modernizing the court. Mr. Lombard, you have 60 seconds for this question. If elected, a lot of lawyers that are watching this asked me to ask this question. What is your plan for modernizing the clerk's office? It's hard to believe in 2021, but they still use paper filings in that system. In 60 seconds, what's your plan for modernization?
My plan is to implement a new case management system. I'm the only candidate in the race that has done that. I've done it at Second City Court, where we now have everything digitized. It's a very similar situation. So we're going to update that to make sure that everyone has access to justice. We don't want a clerk's office issue to become an issue for a case. So that's what I'm going to do. And also I'm going to make sure that we are able to go live with the attorneys that are involved, given that it's we have this COVID situation going on. We're going to make sure that they can do more outside of the court hall, the court building, and that way they're not exposed to any COVID or anything like that.
All right, Dr. Boyd Robertson, same question, 60 seconds. What is your plan for modernizing the clerk's office? A lot of lawyers, a lot of people who use it feel antiquated is probably an understatement.
You are definitely right, Travis, and that is something that's priority on my list. What I've been doing is I have been looking around, searching. I've looked at other agencies that have implemented a technology system, such as Jefferson Parish, who have JeffNet, such as St. Tammany Parish, who have Gravels. And also, I have been searching to look for somebody that would be a system that would be appropriate for the criminal courts office, because every system doesn't go with every office. So I've been searching, and we definitely have to get an updated system, because in the long run, what it would do is cause our budget to be more feasible. And so I definitely will work on that. And I am looking at this present time for a system that would be comparable for our office. Thank you.
All right, Austin Baton, same question in 60 seconds. What's your plan for modernizing this office if elected?
Well, you could look at what I've already done as your clerk of First City Court. I mean, we've gone in and we've changed new policies. We've modernized the way we do business in this office. And I will bring that same mentality over to the clerk of Criminal District Court. I think it's important to reach out and have a public-private partnership with organizations who want to be able to offset the budget that's over there at the court and fund new computer systems so that each aspect of the criminal system could be online and be able to talk to one another. I'm in favor of doing as what is being done right now at civil court, and that's offering to the lawyers, as you mentioned, a subscription service where they could go into that service and they could actually look at cases and they could actually make copies. That's being done right now at civil court. But utilizing best practices and going out and finding good people to bring in modern computer software and hardware is going to be paramount on my list, and one of the first things that I do when I'm elected.
All right, we're going to jump to this question. Dr. Boyd Robertson, you get to start us off on this one. 30 seconds, because we want to get through this somewhat quickly. The evidence room has been an issue. The way they store evidence, a lot of lawyers and prosecutors tell us may not be the best way. In 30 seconds, what is your plan for the evidence room if elected as clerk?
That has been a big issue. Even when I worked there as the accounting supervisor, that was one of the problems that we saw. And so that upgraded technology system is going to be paramount in even handling the evidence situation, because now we can have a system where you can go into the case management system or whatever system we decide to implement, and you can see exactly where evidence is, where it's housed, and when it came in. One of the problems that we've had in talking to some of the judges is that evidence is still being lost. So we gotta get this done. Thank
All
you.
right, Mr. Baton, 30 seconds. What is your plan for the evidence room and the way evidence is stored at criminal court if elected?
Right, there's judges there who have told me that they are not happy or comfortable with the way evidence is stored. My plan is to have what is called a strong chain of custody. I plan on having cameras that are under my control, making sure that that evidence, when it goes out of the evidence room, it comes back in the appropriate manner, and also to actually weigh it when it goes out and comes back in to make sure there's no deviation in any type of consistency with that. But the evidence room needs to be safe and secure. And, I've heard strongly from the judges, and that's what I'm planning on doing.
All right, Mr. Lombard, 30 seconds, same question. If elected, what is your plan for the evidence room and the way the clerk stores evidence?
Well, currently the clerk stores evidence on second and third floor. He does not store it in the basement, as some of my opponents have already said. And it's not an issue with chain of custody because the judges, everyone has always signed off on it. So there's not been an issue there. What I would do, however, is bring at some point the property that is in transition upstairs as well, and also use the CMS system to track it more definitely than currently.
All right, we're going to start this question with you. It's another 1-minute answer or a 60-second answer. You're the chief elections officer if you're elected in this parish. That's a big job. We all know about the election issues that played out in the Trump-Biden race. Other states have had all kinds of lawsuits and allegations. Mr. Lombard, in 60 seconds, if elected, what is your plan to make sure elections in Orleans Parish are the safest and securest that they can be?
Well, currently they are safe and secure, and we're going to implement whatever the best practices are to maintain that. I'm the only candidate in this race who's actually ran an election from top to bottom, back and forth for years. I'm the only one that's also been involved in the election process, either coordinating or supervising for the last 15 years. So I've never missed an election since 2006. And I think you might know this, that I came on with Arthur Morrell back then, and I'm still involved in the election process. And I'm the only one that has experience to make sure that things are done timely and accurately.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Badon. 60 seconds, if elected, elections, clearly, they're so important to voters across the country and here in New Orleans. What is your plan to make sure we have safe, secure elections if elected in 60 seconds?
This is paramount to our democratic process. As we speak right now, there are foreign and domestic people who are trying to infiltrate companies, and they're doing the same thing with elections. Utilize modern technology, firewalls, have great IT people involved to make sure that these type of individuals who are trying to get in are being able to stay away. Having tablets that are available to make elections and numbers report in real time. This is something that we need to do. We talked about modernizing already. But the other thing that we have to do is we have to make sure that we have people who are in place who are trained to recognize any type of infiltration that's coming in. But if you're like me, every time you watch the reports from New Orleans, the numbers coming in, we're always last. We could do better, folks, and we will under my leadership.
All right, Dr. Boyd Robinson, same question. Elections are so important. In 60 seconds, what is your plan if elected to make sure that we have safe and secure elections?
Yes, elections are definitely so important. And as been stated, there are plans in place to make voting suppression come back. And we cannot allow this in New Orleans. As the city's election officer, I will make sure that preparations are in place for every election to address any issues and concerns that the voters have and to resolve those problems and allow everyone that's registered the opportunity to vote. I will conduct a study to assess the needs of the community to see if there are need for more polling places. If the study shows there's a need, I would definitely provide more polling places. My goal is to have a polling place in every precinct like we used to have, but if that's not feasible, at least a polling place where everybody have access to it. And the main thing I want to do is put polling places on every college campus, or at least on several college campuses, because as a college professor, I talk with our students all the time, and they would vote if they have access to voting. And so I want to make it easily accessible to our students to give them the opportunity to vote. And I will work to find the resources to fulfill these needs.
All right. 30-second answer here, because we want to get one more question in before we give you all a chance to make a minute closing statement as well. We're going to start this one, Mr. Badon here, and then we're going to come back to Mr. Lombard to start the closing statements. In 30 seconds, though, Arthur Morrell has fought with the council, who controls his budget, about money, which leads to hiring. In 30 seconds, Mr. Badon, what is your plan when it comes to the budget and when it comes to staffing for the clerk's office?
Okay, so that office has a budget of roughly $4.8 million. I have to go in and do the same thing that I did over at First City Court, and evaluate what it is I have. Look at the staff, and there are good people who are over there. I'm not going to fire everybody and bring in new people, as what was stated in the rumor going around, but evaluate what I have and make sure that we are working in partnership with the city to meet our budgetary needs. There are things that I want to do over at that office, and it takes money. In order to do that, you have to generate money. So I want to work with the city and the city administrators to make sure that we live within our means and we do what is appropriate.
All right. Dr. Boyd Robertson, same thing, 30 seconds. What is your plan when it comes to the budget and staffing? I know 30 seconds is short, but we're trying to get a lot in.
It is, especially for an accountant, right? So I will conduct a thorough, complete financial audit. I will find innovative ways to trim the fat from the budget and manage a lean budget without disrupting essential services. I don't know if you all have ever heard of David Stewart. He is the second richest billionaire in the United States. And what he did, his office ran dysfunctional for a minute, and he knew he had to find outside ways to increase his budget. And what he did, he got one government contract. And today he's the second richest Black man in the world. So I have the experience of getting grants, getting contracts, working with foundations to bring in the extra funding that's needed to make up the shortfalls. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Lombard, same thing, 30 seconds. If elected, what is your plan with the budget and with staffing at criminal court?
Well, my plan is to work with the city council as usual. Arthur Morales has some problems with that, but we're going to work around that. And we're also going to discuss with our congressman how to get some of that infrastructure money that's coming in. So we're going to do that as well to improve all kind of areas in the office. Now, the other thing I want to say real quick is that I'm not the guy here who is running for 50 offices, you know, everything but dog catcher. I've been committed to this from day one, from the first day I stepped in that office, and I'll stay committed to the voters of New Orleans.
All right, really, we're going to do closing statements here. Mr. Badon, I'll give you a 10-second response to that because I know he's referring to you there. So if you want to respond to that in about 10 seconds, go ahead really quickly.
I'm gonna take the high road.
Okay.
I'm not gonna.
That's okay. I just want to give you the opportunity. Mr. Lombard, you're going to have 60 seconds. We're going to start with you. You ended our opening statements. You're going to have 60 seconds to make a closing statement to let people know why you feel you're the best candidate for clerk of criminal court. So go ahead. You've got 60 seconds.
Well, my name is Darren Lombard. Again, I'm number 10. I feel like I'm the best candidate because I have most of the experience that you would require for anyone who's taken on such a task as updating an office that as large as criminal district court's office. Also, I'm the only candidate with the experience when it comes to elections. I also work with the governor on elections for the entire parish of Orleans. I've done it for 15 years. I've probably been involved in at least right around 100 elections. So you can rest assured that I'll protect the voters' right to vote. I will not come to you with smoke and mirrors and promising you things that aren't realistic. I have an experience of being consistent. I'm the only candidate that's endorsed by the Democratic Party, Congressman Troy Carter and Senator Mary Landrieu. So they understand what it takes to get the job done. And I plan on fulfilling that commitment I spoke about earlier to the voters of Orleans Parish.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lombard. Dr. Boyd Robertson, you have 60 seconds to make a closing statement.
Thank you. I was pondering on my closing on last night, and I was getting ready to take some notes, right? And I went into my purse and I picked up my ink pen, and my ink pen wasn't right. So I put the ink pen back in my purse, went into the kitchen, got some water, came back to my purse, picked up that same ink pen, and guess what? The ink pen didn't write. So I thought about that. I said, you know what? If we keep on doing the same thing that we've been doing, we're going to keep on getting the same results. And that's referred to as insanity. If you keep on using the same people and you keep on putting the same thing in place, you're going to keep on getting the same response. I have prepared myself for this office, both through experience and education, and I have the proven capacity to get things done. I have also been able to empower others to make a living. I am prepared to make this office less stressful, less hassle, more convenient, and more accessible. I need your vote, though, to make this happen. I am Dr. Patricia Boyd Robertson, number 9 on your ballot, and I thank you so much for your vote. God bless you.
You were like right at 60 seconds right there. Congratulations.
Awesome.
Austin Badon, you get to wrap us up with closing statements. You have 60 seconds.
Thanks again, Travis. I'm Austin Badon. I'm number 8 on your ballot. You know me, you know the work that I've been doing in the community for a number of years. You blessed me by letting me serve you in the Louisiana legislature. Now you have blessed me by letting me serve you as your clerk of First City Court, where me and my staff, who are wonderful people, have done tremendous things over here. We've made this office more efficient and effective and safer. We value your time, and we work very hard to provide great customer service. As a proud graduate of St. Augustine High School, the University of New Orleans in political science, I earned a master's degree at Troy State University in Human Resources. My education, my experience, my passion for this position makes me the top candidate for that. But you also know the humanitarian work that I've done in the community, helping find missing people such as Carolyn Manette, Ms. Jean Stokes, things such as going and vaccinating 150 people under the bridge. I'm not just here to tell you what I want to do and stuff like that and show up on the scene. You know me and you know I've been here for you and will continue to be.
All right. We appreciate your time. Election day is nearing. Early voting is already underway, which is a good thing. Election day is on the 13th. Dr. Patricia Boyd Robertson, Austin Battle, Darren Lombard, we appreciate your time. Good luck to all three of you in early
Thank
voting
you.
and on election.